Jacqueline Smith is a certified hypnotherapist as well as a gifted psychic and healer and a metaphysical teacher, and she's also an experiencer and a hybrid. Since early childhood, Jacqueline has had numerous experiences as well as telepathic communications with star beings, light beings, angels, and interdimensional beings. She's able to travel through her consciousness to other star systems and universes and remembers what she is shown. She's also a near-death experiencer. She joins us now. Hello, Jacqueline.
Hi, Dean. Thank you so much for having me on your show today.
It's my pleasure. We're going to talk about your experiences in your life as a hybrid. So I guess the first question is, when did you first learn that you were a hybrid?
Okay, so actually it took me a number of years to start to put the pieces together and to understand that I was a hybrid. And so I really began understanding this more deeply actually when I was in probably my 30s and 40s to understand who I really was. I felt like I never belonged here,
Mm-hmm.
and was trying to just figure out, who I was. And so with that, as I put the pieces together, then I understood that I was a hybrid. I had, I call them my star parents, had actually come to me and given me information, but also I remembered when actually when I was in my mother's womb, they had taken my mother aboard the starship and injected me, I call it, with a DNA cocktail of 7 different races.
Right.
And so that genetically altered who I was. It enhanced the abilities I have to be able to do what I'm here, what I'm doing
Yeah.
here on Earth.
Well, I want to touch on that a little bit later, but first, I guess the first thing, when you say you felt like you didn't belong, what kind of feelings did you have?
Yeah, a very lonely feeling like I did not belong on Earth, that Earth was not my home. And like many experiencers feel, I felt like someone had kind of dropped me off here
Mm-hmm.
and took off, left me here on my own, was the feeling. And I had a lot to work through as a child and a teen, and that with all of those feelings. I felt that I wasn't like everyone else, and I had these psychic abilities that I didn't quite know what to do with. And some of those abilities freaked my mom out. And so it took me a while to really begin to understand why I was feeling the way I was feeling.
I mean, was your mum aware that she had been taken aboard a craft and while she was pregnant, and she knew how this all began?
I think she definitely knew on a subconscious level. She always said to me, "You're really different."
Mm-hmm.
So, but she did not have conscious memories. They had blocked those memories, I think, I don't think my mother would have coped very well
Right,
with
right.
having those memories. So they actually blocked her from remembering that.
So you mentioned psychic abilities. So what other differences are there between a hybrid and an actual human?
Well, the abilities that have been enhanced with me, I've always been telepathic, and I've been an animal communicator for over 40 years. So it's always been natural for me. Telepathy always seemed natural to me, the most direct way of communicating, and why do we have all these words?
Yeah, yeah.
and and so um, my abilities with animals, I can know what they're thinking, feeling. I can look through their bodies and tell what's going on. I can do the same thing with humans, and working with people as well. I'm able to tune into them at a really deeper level, at the soul level, as well as other levels. And also, as a child and later on, off and on, I'm telekinetic. So I've had experiences of walking in a grocery store down an aisle at times where the cans would start flying off the shelves,
Wow.
and light bulbs blowing out. I have to watch myself around my computer. If
Hmm.
my frequency goes way up, I've blown out phones and things like that. So it's been interesting learning how to harness those energies, and my focus is on being of service.
Yeah. So with the animals, I mean, we often refer to as animals. I mean, they're just there for us. So they actually think. How do they think? I mean, they think like us?
Well, when I communicate with them, they are sending out um, vibrations. So, and when it comes to me, my brain is able to translate those energies into words. But the animals are always communicating telepathically. We could say energetically, of course, it's not in words like
Hmm.
we have.
Yeah, yeah.
They're so much more in touch than we are, than humans are. They're aware of everything around them. They pick up all our thoughts and attitudes and feelings, and can be mirrors for us
Hmm.
as well.
I guess the burning question then is, as a hybrid, what ET race is in your DNA? Is it one, or is it a combination of several?
I have actually a combination of 7. And so I think of myself, sometimes I call myself a blended soul, or a blended hybrid soul. So I have a race called Quabar, which is I call it my original star race. And that's from, um, we call it the 7th universe outward from Earth.
Hmm.
It's all etheric, it's not physical. And also my star parents in this life are the tall white zetas, and it's their ship that I was on most of my childhood, and the ones who um, enhanced my abilities. And then I have Arcturian Zeta. I have angelic in me, a dolphin being like race. And also we could call it kind of and I guess an amphibian race.
Right, right.
So,
We've spoken a lot with Mary Rodwell, who's done some amazing work with ACERN, and she speaks of star children remembering lives on other planets. Is that the case with you?
yes, I am able to remember lifetimes I've had as an Arcturian when I was the commander of a ship,
Hmm.
actually, and where my home was, and my family. Actually, I've connected with 2 other people who were part of that life, and they remember it as well, which is really fun.
Right.
Fun. And I've lived many more star being um, lifetimes than I have human. I've lived as a dolphin-like being. The dolphins here are ancestors, we could say distant ancestors or cousins of the dolphins here, that came from this race, who are very dolphin I call them dolphin-like beings.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I guess another question that comes to mind quickly then, having lived these previous lifetimes on other worlds, are we talking about a soul being transferred during these lifetimes? Is that where we're getting at here?
I'm not sure what you mean by transferred.
Well, I guess once your life is ended on a particular planet, I guess your soul is left your body. Is it designated for somewhere else?
Yes, my experience is the soul then decides what form to take in that next lifetime, for the sake of learning and for whatever the purpose might be. The soul is living many lifetimes at once, so it's all simultaneous in
Right.
that sense. So yeah, my experience is that my soul processes the lifetime and then decides to reincarnate, maybe as an Arcturian, maybe as a wolf-like being in another planet, maybe as a star, maybe as a cat on Earth.
Hmm.
So it all depends on what the soul decides is the best form to come into for learning and offering what that frequency of the soul has to offer.
Is that the case for non-human hybrids as well? You know, for example, my soul, will it have also experienced life elsewhere?
Yes, yes,
But
definitely.
we just aren't able to remember.
Correct, yeah. And so, we are all cosmic citizens, and everyone on Earth is a star seed, or, looking at it from a bigger perspective, everyone is really a hybrid. We just People have asked me to talk about my story, so sometimes we refer to being hybrid as having been genetically altered somehow, either before we were born or up into early childhood or so. And so that's how the perspective I talk from is a hybrid. But in the bigger sense, we're all star seeds, we're all hybrids, and
Okay.
cosmic citizens.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've touched on a couple of things, but the point of hybrids, what's the point of a hybrid being created?
Okay, so um, what I've been told and how I view myself is that I'm like a bridge. So I have a high, we could say a high portion of star frequency in me, higher than some others might have on Earth. And so I can speak from the human point of view and
Mhm.
also the star point of view. So I kind of act as a bridge to bring those different points of view, and to help awaken and raise the consciousness of humanity. There's more and more star children coming in who are coming in really awake. Um,
Yep.
just coming in awake, where I had to go through the process of more of an awakening through my life and through the journey I've been on.
Okay. It's quite fascinating because I guess most or all of the reports I've ever read or watched or heard about hybrids is that human hybrids basically are going to replace humans, which I guess begs the question, should we worry about hybrids?
No, I think what's happening is it's all part of the evolutionary process, that hybrids are helping introduce and integrate the energies, to create the new human who can tap into their potentials, the telepathy and clairvoyance and clairaudience and all those gifts. We all have those gifts. So as people awaken and become aware that they're cosmic citizens in that, then they can more easily tap in to their talents and skills that they have.
Okay. So who decides who becomes a hybrid?
I, well, from the soul level, if it's a soul level choice
Yep.
and decision. Yeah. And you know, my whole life, I've been teaching that we are all one. We are all one. We are all one consciousness.
Right.
And the key messages of the star beings that I communicate with, first of all, the ones that I communicate with are very benevolent. They're very loving. They care about Earth. There are other beings of, we could say, lower or other frequency. I don't connect with them. I just have no interest in that. So I call in the highest
Mm-hmm.
highest beings, you know, to communicate with. And they talk, you know, their messages are, and it's been my messages through my whole life, is we're all one, and to live from the heart, you know, to keep
Mm-hmm.
things simple, to live from the heart, um, and to understand that we are all equal, and to take care of the earth, to take better care of the earth. And so obviously a lot of shifts are happening with earth right now is because of what we're walking through.
Right. Humans who have experienced bad abductions, are these related to the beings that you deal with, or are these the ones you were talking about being on a lower level?
Those are different beings that are on a lower frequency level. And I can say I have had some negative experiences with some that are not so nice, who took me. But I'm very fortunate to say that all, you know, most of my experience, 98% have been absolutely wonderful with the beings who I communicate with, who I work with. And as a child on the ship, I started being on the ship when I was like 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. I had a hard time when they would take me back to Earth. I've never thought of myself as being abducted. I've always thought of it in a way that I guess you could call it being taken, but that I'm not a victim, because on some level the soul has agreed to go through the experiences
Yeah.
that the person goes through. And some people have a really hard time with that. And I understand that. But for me, I really understand that. And so I absolutely love communicating with these beings. They radiate unconditional love. They are highly evolved. They radiate that unconditional love and peace that humans are still learning about.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to my next question. When you talk about unconditional love, and well, I have to ask. I mean, it's at the central core of the Bible, and God is unconditional love. Uh, is it one on the same? Are these beings and who we refer to as God is one and the same?
That's an interesting question. Um, uh, the the way I view it is that we are all different aspects of God or the Creator, and no one's higher than another. We're all equal. We're just having different experiences, you know, depending on what our soul decides it wants to learn and offer
Yeah.
where it goes. So we're all the creator, we're all the one, we're all God, goddess.
Right. Did you ever get a sense while you were on the ships that I mean, these beings are obviously pretty powerful. Did you get a sense that there was a higher power above them?
Yes, yes, definitely. And um, yes, they have talked to me about that. They do talk about, when I ask them about God, again, they say, we don't worship anyone. We're all the one. But there are all these different realms. I communicated a lot with the angelic realm and the Elohim.
Mm-hmm.
And so they talk about being, the Elohim being creators of other beings, of other angels, of star beings. So there are like all these different councils who are part of that. One of the most ancient races is the mantis beings.
Right.
And they actually co-created the cosmos along with some other beings, the angelic realm. And so there are all these interworkings. They all work together, all these different councils.
Yep.
So there isn't like just one council who created the cosmos, or but the mantis beings, I communicate with them a lot since I have a lot of mantis in me. I love them. They help create the grids for Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so did the mantis beings and some of the angelic realms, and some other beings as well.
Yep. Our good friend Kevin Briggs talks to us quite a bit, and he talked about the Council of Eight. So I guess we're talking about a different council to what you're experiencing.
Well, from my experience, there are lots of different councils. So I communicate often with the Mantis Council of Seven.
Mm-hmm.
and then there's different angelic councils who may have 10 or 15 beings, the council of 15. So there are all these different councils. And so during, there was a period of time in 2013, actually on Thanksgiving, where I had 2 weeks of going on and off ships, actually, and going interdimensionally and into all kinds of things. And a ship came out of a portal over my house, and it flew right over me, and flashlights in my eyes and all this. But I ended up on a mothership later, and there were all these councils of beings from different sectors of different galaxies. And I had the opportunity to be involved in that meeting with these beings. And so they had come together to actually talk about, they had business discussing different sectors of the universes and things like that, but they were also talking about Earth and humanity.
Right.
And that was an interesting conversation. So there's so many different councils from different star systems who are doing incredible work.
It's amazing how Hollywood has often been thought of as being part of a soft disclosure going on at the moment, and some of their movie plots kind of resonate with what experiences actually talk about. And you talk about the different councils and the way they get together. I mean, I'm thinking of a movie, The Day the Earth Stood Still, and the reason
Yeah.
they came to the planet was to let the humans know that they'd failed in being the caretakers of the planet.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. I mean, as a child, I saw that movie and I never forgot it. I just so resonated with that. And so, yeah, that's one of my favorite movies, actually. and,
Yeah.
and we're still working on that, right?
Yeah. Well, yes. Um, I've always wanted to ask, does E.T. have a sense of humor?
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh, I'm glad you asked that question because a lot of people don't think of star beings as having a sense of humor, or they tend to project a lot of maybe their own feelings onto them because facially and that they have different, their expressions are not like ours and they might be harder to read.
Mm-hmm.
But the mantis beings make me laugh all the time. I'm in communication with them pretty much every day, and they'll show up at my house and hang out, which I really love. And they are very childlike, but not childish. And they're, you know, play and creativity is a part of the evolutionary process. And they have this wonderful ability to see the bigger picture of things, but also are able to see the details of things and work with that. But they work with a lot of people on Earth in terms of their own creativity, with artists and healers, all kinds of beings. And I work with a lot of people whose star origin is mantis.
Mm-hmm.
And so the mantis are great fun. They have these beings have families like we do.
Right.
And so they have emotions. A lot of people label them as emotionless, and that is not the case at all
Okay.
with the beings I've communicated with.
I'm glad you cleared that up. Um, Jacqueline, while on the ship, and there's a there's a lot of talk at the moment about disclosure. Do you ever get a sense of if we as a race will ever have disclosure, say in our lifetimes? Do you get a sense from the beings that you communicate with?
So I think it depends on what you mean by disclosure. So I
Well, I'm talking about announcing to the world, yes, we are real. We've been here for a long time. Now deal with it. That type of thing.
I don't think um, it's gonna. I don't think it's going to happen in quite that way. But here's the thing: they're already doing that and have been doing that with experiencers. And
Yeah.
because a lot of people that I talk to talk about the messages that they are given, they are here interdimensionally already. Again, it's not like they're going to come in a ship and land and call for, have a media
Mm-hmm.
kind of gathering. And so my experience is that there are more sightings of starships or UFOs, and they are closely watching us right now and watching over us as
Yeah.
well. And so in terms of disclosure, I think the experiencers, the hybrids, are the disclosure. And many more people are seeing these beings. When I'm working with clients, helping them process their experiences, they'll say, a being was standing at the foot of my bed, and they see the being.
Right.
So I think it's an awakening with disclosure at a pace that humanity can accept.
Yeah. It seems to me that their version of disclosure isn't going to a leader of a country. It seems like their form of disclosure is a people disclosure, and
Correct.
experiences are the front line of that.
Exactly. And so, more and more people are stepping out, talking about their experiences, which is very exciting. More and more children are coming in, knowing their experiences. Like I worked with the parents of a 4 or 5 year old, and this little girl knew before she had come in, what had happened to her on a ship with the Greys.
Mm-hmm.
And she was telling her mother there's Greys in her bedroom at night and what they're doing, and she's talking to them and all this. So this little girl, 4 or 5 years old, she's coming in knowing all that. And so my role was to help support the parents and how to work with her
Right.
to support her. And so I think we're going to be seeing more and more of this with the children
Okay.
now coming in.
Okay. I'm just watching the time here. We're almost getting close to time, but I wanted to ask you, I did a story recently on experiences and the numbers of experiences that are actually out there compared to what we think. Are we talking in the millions?
I think so. I think so. And some people who have been on starships, they don't have the memories, but they may gain them later. Like I
Mm-hmm.
work with a lot of people who, or they have a dream and it starts to awaken them. So yeah, I do believe there are millions. Yeah, and that's part of to me, the awakening or the disclosure globally.
And people are more prone to come out now and talk about it because there are more safe havens for them to do so without having to go public.
Absolutely. I work with people every day, pretty much to talking with them, listening to their experiences. And I am able to telepathically communicate with these beings to give the person messages that the star beings want that person to know, and then they start remembering and continue to open. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's I think it's really great that more and more people globally are remembering and opening and becoming aware that they are cosmic citizens.
Great. Jacqueline, I want to talk with you again because it's a fascinating discussion. I want to talk to you more about the people that you see. Maybe we can talk a little bit about other experiences and at some stage down the track, but I'll certainly be in touch. But I really appreciate you giving your time with us today.
Oh, thank you so much. I really enjoy being able to share, my experiences and everything with this subject.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. Jacqueline Smith joining us today.